my whole focus is building relationships and helping people feel relaxed and confident and beautiful. Whereas someone else may be focused on the technicality of it, and they may be focused more on the lighting. And so their work is going to look different than mine, because mine, yes, I focus on the lighting, but my approach is so different. So it was constantly reminding myself that I'm blessed. I have these gifts. I'm grateful for these gifts, and I'm going to stay on my own path, in my own journey, and not let those thoughts of what other people are going to think about me come into play. So it was hard. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of constant mindset shifts and talking to myself to say, and I think journaling was a huge component of that, because every day I would sit down and I would say, okay, I am grateful for whatever it was I was grateful for that day. And even if I had a shoot and maybe it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go, I was grateful for that opportunity to have had that person come to me and work with them, and, whatever.
Welcome to the Tribe of Leaders podcast. I'm serial entrepreneur and investor Emmy Kirshner, and I'm known for sprinkling just a little bit of glitter throughout the streets of Philadelphia and on the stages that I speak, while I help creative entrepreneurs stop struggling as the overworked admin in their business and become the CEO of their multi-6 and 7-figure businesses. What has fascinated me over the years are the stories of success and failure that courageous entrepreneurs who have put it all on the line face as they change lives, disrupt industries, and become incredible leaders themselves. So if you're looking for a community of engaged entrepreneurs and you'd love to get some resources and tools that can help you fast track your business, I invite you to join the Tribe of Leaders Facebook group. The link is in the show notes if you want to connect with us, and of course the group is free to join. Hey everybody, welcome to another amazing episode of the Tribe of Leaders podcast. I am here with somebody who I've known for quite a while, and we've had some opportunity to hang out together, and I've just been learning more and more about her business. And I love how she's taken two pieces of business that individually work amazing together and mix them up like an incredible recipe, like I'm thinking cake, but done something completely unique. And that is what inspires me, is when I see people and entrepreneurs creating something newly. So Robyn, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Emmy. I'm really excited to be here. And like you said, we've met, quite a while ago. We've had these great conversations, and you inspire me all the time. And I love all of the similarities we have in terms of our personalities, our goals, our aspirations, our boys, and so many other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's share a little bit about who you are. And I was on your website today, and I saw that, you were a photographer first, and now you've meshed that and branding together in a really unique way. So can you share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So to give your listeners just a little bit of background on me, I actually went to school to become a pharmacist. I got a doctorate degree, and I did that for many, many years. But what was happening was everything became so legalistic, and I have this passion for education and sharing my knowledge, but doing so in a creative way. And I felt so squashed, and that I couldn't be creative with my writing and things that I was doing. And at the same time, our family life was exploding and getting crazy, and my husband was traveling globally, and I was traveling periodically for symposium and different things. And we looked at each other and said, this is crazy. We need to slow down. And so my husband suggested I follow my passion and become a photographer. He knew that it just lit me up, and I loved it. And he saw the things I had created with my camera and my vision. And so I thought, well, everybody's going to think I'm crazy, and he's crazy for suggesting it, but I'm going to do it. So I put all that fear aside. I jumped in, started a blog, and within 6 weeks, I had my first client, which was a branding client. So I created her imagery for her website, her CD cover. She was a musician, an entertainer, and I was so gosh, I don't even know the right word, but totally inspired and just filled with joy when I worked with her. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This has to be what I'm going to do. And long story short, all these years go by and I'm kind of taking every job that came my way because I wanted a studio space. That meant I had overhead. And so I had to work pretty hard to meet all of the obligations that I then had.
Right.
So I took every job that came my way. And what ended up happening was I started to get burnt out a little bit because I wasn't doing only what I wanted to be doing. And then I transitioned a few years ago to just focus on headshots and branding. I knew I wanted to work with the female entrepreneur or the corporate executive, but someone that I could sit and have these conversations with that would fuel me at the same time I was serving them. So I transitioned, and then I realized so many people have no idea how to brand themselves. And I was doing it. Like I had this gift, and I was, telling them as I'm doing their shoots with them, and I'm telling them, oh my gosh, you can use this image for this, and this would be a great post for this, and, on and on and on. And so then I thought, education is such a core part of who I am. I love to teach. I love to share my knowledge. And at that point I was like, I have to start sharing this in combination with the photography. And so now here I am today, and the coaching component is one of the core parts of my business. And then I'm still doing the photography. So I've really married the two, and I'm serving others in a way that I know is helping them build a successful business. But at the same time, I'm fueling myself and giving myself that opportunity for growth and joy at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many questions. I want to circle back to what you said originally, that you had a PhD in pharmacy, and now you've unleashed your creativity. So you're one of those rare people who can use both sides of your brain.
Yes. And it's funny because my mother is an artist. Like you could not put a simple math problem in front of her and ask her to do it without her just having a complete panic attack. She's total creative, total artist. My father, on the other hand, was very engineer minded. But yet he was very creative. He was a master woodworker, and he was so incredibly talented, and he could draw and, do all these things. And so between the two of them, yes, I got both sides of my brain. And I think that's why, when I jumped over to the creative side, I was still feeling a little bit lost for a while because I needed to use both sides of my brain. And so that strategic thinking component is where, being able to look at someone's business and say, oh my gosh, here's your brand, and here's where we need to take this so that you have something concrete to market. So it's that, strategic thinking and process mapping, project management type focus that I needed to go along with the creative side.
Right. And I'm curious too, before you unleashed all of this creativity with the photography, had you dabbled in any arts or anything else before, or had it been more straight up?
No, I had done photography my whole life. I started when I was very young. I think as young as first grade, I had a camera in my hand. And my parents had a Polaroid camera, and I would take so many pictures with that Polaroid camera and then just plaster them all over the wall. I'm sure it drove my mother crazy. But, I always, from the time I was a little girl, had a camera, and I captured memories. And I have got volumes and volumes and volumes of photo albums and negatives still from all of my years. And I had taken classes and everything, but I was the oldest of 4 girls. My mother was 17 years old when she got pregnant with me. She married my father. They were married for 36 years before he passed away. But I was determined I was not going to follow her path. And she went on, raising 4 girls, got an education, became a librarian. She did remarkable things with her life, but I was determined I was going to have a high power career. I was going to wear a suit every day, and I was going to make a lot of money. So I accomplished that. But I think what ends up happening sometimes is we are who we are. And even though we want to do something, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the path we're going to be on for the rest of our lives.
What was it like for you as you shifted? It's a big leap. It's not like just a little pivot. Were you freaking out?
I was freaking out completely. And there are still days, and it's been almost 10 years since I did the complete pivot. And some days I think, what in the world was I thinking? Entrepreneurship is not easy. Like I could be having my own ticket, working for big pharma, making tons and tons of money. And at the same time, when I was transitioning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to run my own business, which I had been doing anyway, because I was consulting and freelancing in the medical industry. But this was totally different because now I was like seeing multiple clients a week. It was, different taxes involved with sales tax and all of these things. So many more details, so many more things I had to consider and learn and think about. And then at the same time, fear, like, who do you think you are to do this? Like, you're a scientist, you're not a creative. And then all of my, friends and colleagues in the pharmacy world, it's like, what are you doing, Robyn? Have you lost your mind?
Right.
So there were so many emotions. And I thought, you know what? And then it came to, I have to prove myself now. And so then the pressure set in, so it was, yes, to answer your question, it was a whole gamut of emotions, just a plethora of different emotions, and every single day was different in terms of what I was feeling. And that imposter syndrome was one that I kept constantly having to climb out of the well from.
I would love for you to be able to give a couple of words of advice too, because I think every entrepreneur experiences that at some point, particularly if you're shifting or creating newly. I know I did when I was moving from health coaching to business coaching, and I had to have a friend like really sit me down and be like, what the hell is your problem? You're the one that answers all the stuff all the time. Like, this is your background.
Mm-hmm.
So, words of advice for somebody who's feeling that if they're starting newly, or even if they're about to up level. I think even that there's a level of, am I good enough? Can I actually, reach to this place?
So what I like to say is, and this, I think imposter syndrome and comparison kind of go hand in hand. And we are in such a digital world, and we see so many things online. And what I have had to do for myself, looking at other photographers or looking at other business coaches, I have to sit and really think about how blessed I am where I am, and that I have these gifts, and that I have been given these gifts to use, and I am meant to serve a certain population. So even if someone is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, they're doing it and when I say exact same thing, let's use photography as an example. So maybe there's someone doing branding photography, headshot photography. Their style is going to be different than my style. They're going to interact with their clients differently than I'm going to interact with my clients. My whole focus is building relationships and helping people feel relaxed and confident and beautiful, whereas someone else may be focused on the technicality of it, and they may be focused more on the lighting. And so their work is going to look different than mine, because mine, yes, I focus on the lighting, but my approach is so different. So it was constantly reminding myself that I'm blessed. I have these gifts. I'm grateful for these gifts, and I'm going to stay on my own path, in my own journey, and not let those thoughts of what other people are going to think about me come into play. So it was hard. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of constant mindset shifts and talking to myself to say, and I think journaling was a huge component of that, because every day I would sit down and I would say, okay, I am grateful for whatever it was I was grateful for that day. And even if I had a shoot and maybe it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go, I was grateful for that opportunity to have had that person come to me and work with them, and whatever. But that, I think gratitude was probably the key to overcoming a lot of that lack of confidence and comparing myself to other people and thinking I'm not good enough.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think, as I said, everybody experiences that. So having the kind of just the tools to start getting over it is going to be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, when did you move? Because you have your first phase and your second phase, and your podcast is called the Second Phase Podcast, because it is about the second part of your life, or the second direction you're going, or third direction. Doesn't have to necessarily be the second, but you moved across country.
We did. Yeah. And so I grew up in a little town in Illinois. My mom, my sisters, everybody is still within an hour of where I grew up. Right. And then I went to St. Louis to go to college, and I stayed there. So I was in St. Louis for over 13 years. And so my core unit was there. My family, my friends, everybody was within an hour and a half of me. And I met my husband, who was from northern Idaho. He came to St. Louis to actually become faculty at the college I went to, which is crazy. We met after I graduated, but we always say that caveat. Nothing bad was going on there. And then we met through a mutual friend. Well, we were married for a few years. So we had everything like was going so well. I had a 6-figure job. And then, we had our firstborn, and I come home from the hospital, and within 10 days, he says, he was working for Bristol Myers Squibb at the time. He says, they've asked me to move in corporate. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we'll move to Princeton. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, we have a new baby. This is my life. I have a job, I have a career, whatever. So long story short, I was like, I can't hold him back. I've always had this adventurous spirit, but at the same time, I was really rooted, with my family, and I would get homesick so easy. So I was like, well, I can't hold him back. So he did everything, moved us out here. Joshua was 9 months old, and my company I was working for didn't have something for me here. So they severanced me, which was a blessing. So I had a little nest egg, and I didn't want to put Joshua in daycare or hire a nanny because I knew no one. And so I talked to my former boss, and he had some connections out here, and he connected me with a couple of marketing companies, marketing agencies, and advertising agencies. And I started doing consulting because I had a pretty good niche in terms of my doctorate along with experience in the managed care area. And so that kind of gave me an opportunity to step into some consulting roles. And that's what I did then for the first 9 years that we were here. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
It was. Yeah. I swear my life. And I think to myself, it's so funny, Emmy, because, when you're on social media and everything, and back to talking a little bit about imposter syndrome, I see these people and they're telling all these stories about their day-to-day life, and they're really incorporating all this. And I think my life is not very exciting. Like, I don't have any stories to tell. But then you ask me this question, and I'm like, that was kind of a big deal, I guess.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It's like, look, here I am working from home again, from sofa to desk to bed. Yes, I'm making a difference. And yes, I'm creating cool stuff, but not that exciting.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
I love, to me, like what you're offering is very unique, hence the cake and the recipe, because most people aren't looking at branding and photography the way you're helping your clients. And I think most entrepreneurs, they know that they need to have branding, and they know they need to have a headshot and some images, etc. But they're not thinking about the long-term value of that. And how did you decide to mix both of them together so that you are as unique as you are?
Well, for me, branding is all about storytelling. And when I talk about branding, I'm not talking about the logo and your color palette and your mood board. Yes, those are going to come into what we do from a photography perspective. But when I'm shooting to tell a story, and I'm creating. So for example, I had a shoot on Saturday with a coach, and she is a career coach. So she's going to work with entrepreneurs and corporate employees to help, them find their career. So the entire time I'm shooting, I'm thinking of things like I knew there was a staircase that we could use. And so it was, you're climbing to the top of your success ladder, or, I'm thinking of things like that. Whereas instead of just being a portrait photographer, which a lot of people will go to for their branding images, for their website and things like that, they don't tell the true story of their entire business and who they are and how they're working with their clients and how they can tell their story, but connect emotionally. And that's what you really want to do with those images, is you want people to be able to see the full story of your business, the behind the scenes, the tools you use, the clothes you wear, how you behave, basically, captured through imagery. Video is a strong component of that too. You have to have good, solid video to make that emotional connection as well. So I saw these people, coming to me for pictures, but they didn't understand then what they were going to do with those pictures. And you really do have to be able to tell a story with them, and use them in a way that's going to be effective to build that emotional connection, because that's how you're going to build the know, like, and trust factor. And
right.
That's how you're going to attract clients versus just connecting with an ideal audience or the general public. And then the other thing is I've for myself, dove so deep into search engine optimization, SEO, and how to really make a solid online presence so that it converts to clients. And so with that, I'm able to then teach my clients how to use those images effectively, but then how to also really make them powerful for converting their audience to clients by using SEO on the images.
Yeah. So nobody else is doing that.
And then it's that, it's that clarity component too, where, so many entrepreneurs have a business, but they don't really know where their focus is, what their niche is, and who their ideal client is, and really identifying those things so that they can focus on their ideal customers so that they can then get those conversions, right. And then developing a clear communication path. So once you have the brand, you have to be able to market it. But if you don't have a brand, you have nothing to communicate to attract clients through marketing efforts. So
yeah, absolutely. And I know you run into this because I know I do all the time with people don't want to niche down narrowly enough to, they think they can help everybody, and that's true, but in helping the everybody, you're speaking to no one. And it was funny because I was listening to a Rachel Hollis podcast this morning while I was in the gym, and she's talking about this app that she's got, but that one of the things that they did in developing it was create this client avatar that they named Jennifer. And they, like, her entire team walks around, well, what would Jennifer be doing with this app? And what would Jennifer be, where would she be going with the app? And blah, 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 blah. And I thought that was just really fun. And like such a great reminder, because I don't think you can hear it enough.
No, you can't. And my ideal avatar is named Jules, and Jules is struggling. She's stuck in that analysis paralysis of what she should be doing and who she should be talking to and how she can talk to them. And she's lacking confidence because she's so confused because she doesn't have that clarity. So it's this vicious cycle, right? Yeah. But if you name your ideal avatar when you're creating content, you're thinking of who she is or he is, and you're able to then really create that focused content that's going to reach the people you want. Otherwise, like you said, you're putting all of this out there and you're talking to everyone, but you're reaching no one. And then at the end of the day, you're getting all these phone calls and these leads that aren't your ideal client. So you're frustrated, you try to work with them, and then you're ready to pull your hair out because they aren't who you're meant to be serving. Right. And yeah, so it's so powerful once you have that clarity, and it's amazing how your entire business can shift. But when that happens, and I know you know this, when that happens, you take so much stress and pressure off of yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're connecting with whatever they're reading or seeing. Like, they're like, how did you know that was in my head? And that's what I love hearing from prospective clients that become clients. It's like, you were in my head. That's how I know I needed to work with you. So yeah. It's so, so important. I'm curious, you've been in business for a long time. You've evolved, shifted, changed. You've added the podcast. What's been the most challenging thing for you?
Probably the tech. I would say the tech, definitely. As far as the podcast goes, I love it. Like, I think that was one of those things that I kept putting off. And I think, Emmy, the overarching thing that was probably the most challenging for me was staying focused and doing exactly what we just discussed, was staying true to my niche, because I still get phone calls for family portraits and I could still take every one of them on. But why would I do that? Because that's going to take time away from the business that I've created and the people that I'm meant to serve. And so, at some point you really have to put that wall up and say, nope, I'm sticking to my guns. This is what I'm going to do. And this is, what fuels me. And I'm not going to let other things come in and distract me from what my goals are and what my mission is. So tech wise, I would say that was a challenge. But I'm a learner. Like, I love to learn every single day. So for me, that's been a huge plus, because I take it all in and I'm so curious that, that's helped me overcome some of those frustrations and overwhelm. But I think outside of having the imposter syndrome and falling into that comparison trap periodically, I guess those are probably my biggest challenges. And time management. Time management is tough. I think, I learned about this tool called MeisterTask, and you can map out your day and time block. And that is helping me tremendously, because as a creative, I get very distracted, squirrel all the time, all day long. And then, when you have clients, I want to respond to people immediately, and you can't do that. Like, you have to be able to stay focused to accomplish things. So that's another thing that's been a challenge for me. I guess I have a lot of challenges.
Well, I'm grateful that you're acknowledging them, because you're stating things that I think we all experience at one point or another. And it's being an entrepreneur can be really isolating at times, particularly as you're just getting started or you're just growing your team. And here you are with your laptop and your couch, right? And particularly these days where, for those of us who were going out networking or speaking live or engaging in conversation in person, right? It's easy to get into that mindset of you're the only one having this challenge and this difficulty, when we all are at some point. So I want to honor you for sharing that and being honest with it, with, what you've experienced.
Thank you. Yeah. That kind of comes back to the imposter syndrome too, that we see so many people online doing different things, and it ties into what our values are too. And I know you and I had talked about this before, but if we don't stay true to our authentic self and admit that we don't know everything, we're going to set ourselves up for failure, because we have to tap into those resources and get help for those things that we're not an expert at. Otherwise, we're just spinning our wheels, and we're wasting time that we could be putting towards making money, reaching out to clients, right? Or like you talk about, making those phone calls, to really connect with your audience. And so I guess I learned that the hard way. I can do this all myself. I can do it. I've got this. I'm smart. I can do it. But the reality is there are things that I'm not good at. And so I've learned I'm going to farm those out so that I can stick to my values, be who I am, not look at what other people are doing and compare myself to them, but stick to who I'm meant to be and stick to the people that I'm meant to serve.
Right. So the core values that you have are really what's driving like your leadership in your business.
100%. And I think that, that has kept me grounded. Right. My core values, I have a lot of them, but, serving is one of the biggest ones. And so, and I'm a firm believer that the more we put out, the more we're going to get in return. So, the more we give away, the more people are going to see our brilliance. And the majority of the things that we're putting out there are things that people can't or don't want to do themselves. They want somebody to hold their hand. They want somebody to take them step by step through the process that they need to go through. And so I'm a firm believer in that. So serving is one of them. Faith is another one. I'm a very strong Christian, and that has always been a huge component of my business in terms of how I treat other people, integrity, honesty, all of those things. Like, I've just stayed true to that. And I think it has really impacted my journey in a positive way. And outside of that, there's so many other values, but compassion, empathy, all of those things. And I think that is what's helped me build the emotional connection with the people that I have either collaborated with or work with, and puts them at ease and helps them feel comfortable and confident and beautiful and all those things that we want to feel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's just perfect. I love that you're sharing that, and it's so inspiring to hear that all of these wonderful things are what's allowing you to just continue to up level and grow and serve your people. I feel like we could chat for forever, and our time is coming to an end, unfortunately. So with that, share with everybody how they can get in touch with you and where they can find you.
So the easiest place is probably my website. It's www.therobyngraham.com, and Robyn is spelled with a Y, and Graham is just like the cracker. So it's the ROBYNGRAHAM.com. My Instagram, Twitter, Facebook handles are all the same, The Robyn Graham. And I do have a Facebook group, which is called the Brand Marketing Insider, and I welcome all of your listeners to join. It's a great group of women, and I'm really trying to grow it, but there are some really inspiring people in there, and it's nice. I really think that that's a great place to connect and network. Like, I know you've got your group, and I enjoy your group as well. And I think it's so nice to have a place like that where people can feel safe and secure to ask questions and, just be who they are too, and market their business. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Right. Absolutely. Just connect everybody. I love that too, because it's such an abundance mindset. It's not just about you and what you can offer them and them becoming the clients. It's really about connecting everybody.
Yes.
Everybody working together, because there's plenty for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course there's my podcast, the Second Phase podcast, which is everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all those places.
Places that you can listen to a podcast on.
Exactly, which the list just keeps growing, right?
Well, we'll get the links into the show notes. So for people that do want to connect with you, it'll be easy for them to hook up with you. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story, because this has been just fantastic. And I'm so grateful to have spent just a little more time and know a little bit more about you.
Thanks, Emmy. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for being a listener of the Tribe of Leaders podcast. I am so grateful for each and every episode that you tune in and listen to. And I hope that you get a ton of value that you can implement starting today. And I do have just a quick favor. If you wouldn't mind hopping on to wherever it is that you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating and review, it would help us tremendously so that the Tribe of Leaders podcast can be found more easily and help inspire other entrepreneurial leaders.